Hi, I'm Eric Anderton, and I am a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Yes, y'all. It's time once again for another ResultsLeader.fm. Glad you're here, and I am going to reward you for being here. How, you ask? With another amazing interview. Today's guest is a leadership consultant, storyteller, and all-around good guy. I'm joined by Mr. Eric Anderton from Construction Genius on today's show. Let's jump in. Eric, welcome to the show. Are you ready to rock this thing?
I am. Thank you for having me on.
Man, you sound good. I like a guy with a mic. So let's do this. Let's give our listeners a quick win. What book have you given most as a gift?
The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker.
Man, you didn't even hesitate there. You must have given a lot of copies of that away.
I have. And the reason why is because what Peter Drucker did was he created the foundation. He is the shoulders that all business thinkers in the last 40 to 50 years are standing upon. And so and the thing that Peter Drucker does very well is he puts into simple language the things that everybody thinks about, but they're not able to clearly articulate. And the stuff he puts into language is easily actionable, but very, very effective.
That's a sign of genius, isn't it? Breaking down complex to the simple. I dig it. Never heard that book before, but definitely now on my reading list. Thank you for that. Now it's story time. And me and everybody listening want you to tell us a story of how you turned an apparent failure into a later success.
Well, I think the biggest failure was when I got fired for the first time in my life. And I'd been working for a software company for a number of years. And like most people, when they get fired, I got fired probably about 6 months too late. If I had been me, I would have fired me 6 months earlier because my performance was so poor. It had nothing to do with the company. The company was fine. The guy who was running it was, a good dude, and he had good intentions, but it was me. It was my fault. So I got fired on a Friday. It was one of those nice firings. He asked me to meet him for lunch and bring my laptop. So I kind of knew the writing was on the wall. But at the time I had a wife and 4 children. And so on Monday, I did what I had been wanting to do for many, many years, and I started my own business. And that was the final kick that I needed to start my business, was getting fired. And so what I did is I began to call on former clients from a previous business that I had where I was selling leadership training. And I walked into one of my clients and he was holding up a book. The book is called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And he said, Eric, and I hadn't seen him in years, Eric, we were just talking about you. Can you do a workshop for us on this book? And so me being desperate and having family to feed, I said, yes. And that's how I started my business in 2013, doing that workshop for my old client on the 5 dysfunctions of a team.
Yeah, and then digging into the Rolodex and getting business right away was a nice blessing. Told you were moving in the right direction. I like that.
Yeah, and I think I will say that one of the ways to and this is obvious, but it's very, very important, is that if you're going to be successful in business, you have to be willing to sell. And so I've made tens of thousands of cold calls, warm calls, presentations in my life, and I may not be the best sales guy in the world, but I'm certainly one of the most persistent.
There's people out there, I've heard this before, and I'm wondering what your take is since you brought it up. Sells a 4-letter word like it's foul. What do you say to those people?
That's a great question. I think that it can be in the hands of the wrong person. And so it really has to do with who you are as a person. And so if you're there to solve problems and add value, then you have the right to sell your product or your service in a persuasive and persistent and aggressive manner. And what I mean by aggressive is not taking the first no for an answer. Because if you are targeting the right client with the right solution, and again, you are solving problems and adding value, then it is your duty to persuade that person to work with you.
I like that you put duty in there because I thought you have the right to sell. No, you have the duty to sell because if you can help that person, you got to do everything in your power to get it done. So, with that, let's talk about investments. What would you say is the most worthwhile investment that you have ever made?
That is an interesting question. I think it's in my own business. I think that's one of the tremendous advantages of owning a business is your ability to control your return on investment. You know, we can see from the stock market at the moment, crypto and all that kind of stuff. There's many things that you can't control, even if you have the best strategy when it comes to investing in other people's businesses. But when you invest in your own business, you have the most control over it. So I think the best investment I've made is in my business. So I'll give you a specific example. This year, I am publishing a book, and it's called Construction Genius, and it's a book on leadership and sales and strategy for construction companies. And I have invested a tremendous amount of time and money in that book. And it's not because I know that I'm going to produce a bestseller, you know, it's going to be New York Times bestseller. But the book and the time and the money that I've invested in it will enable me to attract more of my target audience. And I know that if I am able to attract and convert 2 or 3 clients as a result of that book, then I'll have a return on my investment. And so because I have so much control over that, that's the best investment I've ever made is in my business.
In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
I stopped drinking 2 years ago.
Congrats.
And
How
I
did you
wasn't,
come to that? How did you come to the decision that I need to quit this?
I'll tell you how. It was a very interesting situation. I was at my friend's house, and me and a couple of friends were sitting around watching some sports. We were enjoying a bottle of wine together, and no one was wasted or anything like that, but we were just enjoying a bottle of wine. And my friend has a couple of sons, and one of his sons was there, and this particular son had some challenges and struggles in his life. At the time, he wasn't going through any particular challenges, but I remember distinctly. I was sitting on the couch watching the game, and I looked back and I saw him, and the question popped into my head: if he needed to have an important conversation with me right now about challenges that he's facing in his life or issues, would I be able to have that conversation owing to the fact that I had a glass or two of wine? And again, I wasn't drunk, but I was definitely not sharp, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
And I looked and I said, you know what? I don't think I would be able to have that conversation. And that was that was just a little switch in my head. And at that point, I decided, you know what? I'm going to stop drinking.
I'm inspired by that. I quit 3 years ago, so I love hearing stories like that. And it wasn't that it was a problem or anything. It was a decision saying this is not serving me. Kind of like what you're saying. I can't do what I need to do if this is getting in the way. And that's powerful. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What would you say are some bad recommendations in your area of expertise?
I think one of the things, because what I do a lot of is, I help people with leadership development, and, I offer programs and trainings and all these kinds of things. And I really think, and this is one of the challenges, because in order to sell the services that people like me provide, you have to generate emotion in people. But I think one of the bad things that people do is they sell magic pills when it comes to leadership development. You just take this and it will completely transform your life. And I think that it is possible for someone's life to be transformed by a leadership or a training class, but I think that most transformation occurs over time incrementally. And in order to get that transformation, people need simple tools and frameworks that they can apply and learn how to use effectively. And so I think people in my field of, coaching, leadership development, those things, they tend to oversell what it is that they're providing. And I think it's better to undersell and to overdeliver in order to and to communicate to people that there are no magic pills. This takes work. And if you're going to develop as a leader and as a person, it's going to take time.
So you didn't get this question because you didn't do a pre-interview. So I'm putting that out there. But one of the things that we do in this show is in the pre-interview, we ask folks when they're thinking in terms of results, are you more of an immediate satisfaction or delayed gratification? And I ask people where they fall on that spectrum. And right now, you're giving me the case for the long view, the investor view. But most of the people that we speak to say, hey, our clients need a quick win. So where do you stand on quick wins to keep them motivated?
Yeah, that's a great question. The quick win is in the simplicity and the applicability of the frameworks that I offer. But the delayed gratification comes in that you have to apply those frameworks consistently over time to reap the maximum benefit.
Like if I was talking my language, we're talking about the law of reps, where you just start doing the work. That is kind of like the Bible says, doing the work is actually your reward. And by doing the work, the compounded results give you what you're looking for in your greater, bigger picture. Is that right?
And so doing the reps is a good way of putting it. So in any kind of leadership situation, when you are a leader, if you're going to be a successful communicator, it is not a one-time action. Successful communication as a leader, particularly as a leader of a team, is something that happens over a long period of time. And so you have to put in those reps day in and day out. The good news is, though, is that if you understand how a leader should communicate, then you can begin right away to be communicating like that, and over time get better in those communication modes.
You know what? You're saying that, and all I can think of, how many times have I had to repeat to my son, hey, pick up after yourself, or do this, do that.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, they're like your children, man. Take care of them. Now we're about to get into your favorite part of the show, where we talk about results. But first, I've got to ask you, are you picking up what we're laying down here? I hope so. That's why we do the show every week. And I want to ask you for a little bit of help. If there's someone out there that you think can benefit from this show, why not share it with them? Put it out there, hit the share button, use hashtag ResultsLeaderFM, and get it out there. Now let's jump back into the interview. But let's talk about results. That's the name of the show, Results Leader. So, Eric, why do results matter?
Well, because results there's a couple of things, right? So I work with construction companies, and the results that they have to get is they have to be able to build a project on time with safety and quality. And if they achieve those three results, then as a result of that, they make money and they build long-term relationships with their clients. And so one of the philosophies that I have in my business and that my clients have as a result of that is I play long-term games with long-term people. And so if you're going to be able to play a long-term game with someone, you have to be producing results for them consistently. So for my clients, that means building projects that are high quality, that are safe, and that are on schedule year after year after year. For me, that means delivering to my clients tools and frameworks that help them to improve their leadership, help them to clarify their strategy, help them to win more work in terms of strategic selling. And so those are the results that I have to provide. And my commitment is to providing those results over a long period of time with my clients.
In the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
I think it's the realization that in order for me to get better results for my clients, when I'm in a client interaction, I have to be 100% focused. The level of result that I'm able to provide for my clients is directly it's proportionate to how focused I am during the client interaction. And that's particularly challenging in the day and age that we live in, where we have many remote meetings because we have distractions all around us. And so it's very, very important that even with multiple screens and different distractions, when you're in a remote environment working with people one-on-one, you need to remain absolutely focused if you're going to be able to deliver maximum value.
How do you do that?
You have to do a couple of things. Number one, I have to make a commitment before every client call that I'm going to embrace the pain of remaining focused. And so, but it's that pain. If I'm willing for that pain of focus, then that's where the value comes in. So that it's that mindset right there. And then the second thing is you just have to discipline yourself to shut down the other screens that you might get distracted with, And what I do is I pull up the documents associated with the clients that I'm speaking with, over the Zoom, over Zoom. I keep focused on those documents, and then I'm taking notes as well. And I think a really simple tip that can super help you in a coaching situation, which is what I'm involved in, is to share your screen with your clients. Because in sharing your screen, you're bringing another level of interaction in there, not just the video interaction, but you're bringing another level of interaction and almost a level of accountability for yourself so that you remain focused during your discussion.
What area of your business would you like better results?
I want to have better results in developing a product that does not need my interaction. That's my commitment as far as my business is concerned, is to develop a product that does not need my interaction, that makes me money.
What results are you most proud of?
I think I'm most proud of the fact that I've established myself as an authority, a trusted authority in my niche. And so I've picked my niche, which is commercial construction. Through my podcast and through the value that I deliver, I have established myself. And it's a trippy thing, dude. And this is one of the things about podcasts. I did a workshop for a client yesterday, and it was the first time I've ever worked with them. But the guy who brought me in as a project executive for them, and he brought me in because he got to know me through my podcast. And, I've been doing my podcast now for almost 3 years, 170 episodes. And when I walked in the room, and, I'm just an ordinary guy, you know what I'm saying? I'm just a guy. And I walked in the room and the guy was like, "Oh, Eric, I'm a little starstruck right now." And I'm serious. And it was like mind blowing to me because again, I know me. I'm just an ordinary dude. I'm nobody. You know what I mean? I'm just one of a million or something like that. But what I was encouraged with is not so much that he was starstruck, but because something had happened in my communication that was of value to him. And it wasn't because I was thinking about him specifically or trying to influence him in some sort of self-serving way. It was just because I was doing something that I enjoy, but also looking to provide value for my audience. And that had a tremendous positive impact on him. So that to me is something that I'm pretty proud of, actually.
It's a funny feeling when you walk in and people know your name, isn't it? I call it the Norm effect. Like, remember,
it's weird, dude.
Norm. You walk into a room with your podcast. Yeah, right. You've been listening. Boom, Eric.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It's weird.
It's a blessing, dude. I've enjoyed our chat. I know the listeners are going to want more from you. So where can they go to get it?
Well, my podcast is Construction Genius. It is specifically focused on construction companies. I do have people tell me that even if you're not in construction, it can benefit you. But if you are in construction, or if you know people who are in construction, my podcast is the best way to get to know me. You can also go to my website, constructiongenius.com. And, there's a bunch of stuff on there that'll give you some more information.
Excellent. As always, we will have links in the show notes. We've been speaking with Eric Anderton. Thank you, sir, for sharing your insights and spending a little time with us. And thank you, results leaders, for tuning in. That's a wrap. That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next one.
This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.